One of my favourite places, Corfe Castle, Dorset. We're going to take a brief walk around the castle, into the village, and return to the car park. There is so much that can be said about Corfe. Corfe Castle was built by the Normans, and it was a favourite of King John, who used to enjoy hunting in this area. But he also kept a lot of prisoners, or a few prisoners, including French nobles. You can see that the whole castle was suffered, and it suffered during, of all places, it survived for hundreds of years and has such a rich history. But in the English Civil War, about 1643, it was then owned by a family called the Banks family, and Lord Banks, and he was supporting the king. Lady Banks was involved in an enormous siege of the castle that lasted for months, and eventually she was betrayed and the castle fell. It didn't fall into ruin there. Then Cromwell came back and absolutely destroyed the place. It was one of the things Cromwell was quite good at doing. If he thought a castle was a threat, he would go back and absolutely destroy it, and this is the consequence of his actions. Notice how the building material is a mixture of stone. Stone was quarried in this area. It's a wonderful stone called Purbeck, and it was such a good stone that they used it for the roofs. So you can see the roofs made of stone, and we can see some thatched cottages here. Although there is no longer a town council, this was reportedly the smallest town hall in England, and it now houses a mighty fine museum. We are actually going to come back here and have a more detailed look, because there's some fantastic histories here and objects, including in this corner here we have some dinosaur footprints. We have the history of the Romans being here. Alfred the Great enjoyed coming here and building a Saxon hall. King John gave permission for a market. And then we had the history of the Civil War. So much here and so much more. So here is the square of Corfe. In front of us we can see the Victorian Cross, the National Trust shop to our left. By the National Trust shop is a fantastic street shop. We have the Dragon Bakery, which is great for a pasty or a takeaway coffee. the townhouse here, and this sign is again historically important. Francis Newbery was an artist, teacher, art historian, art lecturer who was actually the principal at the Glasgow School of Art at the last part of the 19th century, and he retired to Corfe and presented this sign. Now, if you do a little bit of research, you will find quite a story about this sign. Behind the sign is a fantastic little antique shop called the Old Curiosity Shop. So there's a lot to do in this local area of Corfe. There's a lot more I want to tell you about Corfe. I want to tell you about the murder king, Edward the Martyr. I want to tell you about his wicked stepmother. I wanted to tell you about the train, wonderful steam train, and more detail about the castle. And I'm going to come to that in part 2 of this visit to Corfe. I'm going to walk back down the hill to the car park, and I hope you've enjoyed this first visit to this wonderful village with so much history.